Good evening and welcome to the Board of Public Works meeting here at City Hall on this Monday, November 3rd, 2025. It is now 5:30 and I'm going to hand it over to Kyla Cox-Decker, the board president.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. I call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Public Works on this Monday, November 3rd of 2025. First up, we have messages from the board. Do we have any messages from board members this evening?
I have none.
None for me.
All right. Next, we have appeals. Under appeals, we have appeal of notice of violation to Wells and Wells issued on August 15th of 2025.
Engineering. On August 15th, 2025, City of Bloomington engineering staff found that the approved detour for the sidewalk closure on the north side of East 17th Street associated with right-of-way permit number ROW 2025-08-1855 was not properly executed by the Crider and Crider crews. Equipment, including machinery and a ladder, were blocking access to the accessible curb ramp on the northeast corner of the 17th and Lincoln intersection, which prevented mid-block crossings by pedestrians. Excuse me. I reached out via phone call on 8/15 to James Ford of Crider and Crider, who was completing the work on behalf of Wells and Wells.
Thank you. Are there, let's see, first we'll hear from the appellant, if that representative is here.
You'll step up to the microphone and state your name.
Yeah, my name is James Ford with Crider. I was talking to Zach about the detour out in 17th. We had to connect to the water main out in the middle of 17th. There was a lot of work associated with that. So working with the engineering department, we came up with a flagging operation instead of a full closure for 17th. And it required the sidewalk closure there on 17th as well as one lane of traffic. When we assembled the sidewalk detour, we put all the required signs out and barriers. And the specific sign Zach was talking about was a sidewalk closed sign on the barrier instead of the sidewalk detour sign. The backhoe associated, I don't know, I have pictures here I can give to you so you can see it. But the backhoe that was blocking it was being used to backfill the excavation. There's really no other way to get around to backfill the excavation without use of equipment. The ladder was leaned up against the side that was used for safe access inside the trench previous to the backfill operation. Whenever I talked to him and he reached out to me here via text message, I can give these to you. I called the guys and we got it buttoned up, and I told them that we'd do everything we could to get it rectified the way I thought it should be. At least get everything cleaned up, get it steel plated, that way pedestrian traffic can continue travel without having the safety risks. And that seemed to be fine at the time. And then I got a fine issued. Wells got a fine issued, but they would just pass it on to the contractor doing the work. And then he seemed to say to me that we'd be able to get away with a warning other than a fine, since we have never been fined on any projects in recent history or that I've been associated with in the city of Bloomington, and we do a decent amount of work around here. So that's why I appealed the fine, because I thought we were going to get a warning and tried to take the necessary and proper actions to correct the situation. And
Thank you.
And I can bring you these papers if you'd like to see them. How we cleaned it up. And this was my email I sent immediately. Thank you.
All right, we can open it up for questions from the board.
I'll go ahead and start. First questions are for Zach, if you can come up. I'm curious about the amount. Was it $4,000, is that correct?
Correct.
And looking at page 7 in the packet, it appears that it's because of a gradually doubling fine, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us about the incidents on June 3rd, June 4th, and June 5th, and how they relate to this?
I don't specifically recall the incidents, but we do have like a scale to where an original fee will double up to $7,500. So you have your initial of $500, and it doubles each time until $7,500. So
Right.
at this point, they'd received 1, 2, so 3. Wells and Wells had received 3 other notices of violation previous to this one.
Okay, so those June fines may or may not have been the same site, but they were the same people?
Correct. Same contractor responsible for overseeing the whole sscenario.
Okay.
You have your subcontractors who are completing the work, but they are overseen by a general contractor,
Right.
which in this case.
Was it this property, or was it different properties?
Though some of those may have been at Hub 1,
Okay,
but they are, since Wells and Wells is the applicant for most of these.
Sure.
And the controlling employer, they receive the violations.
and can you speak a little bit to the testimony about conversation about warnings versus fines?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things in my training, this is about the end of my 7th month here, so I've been doing a lot of learning and understanding the situations. In some cases, a field specialist may have discretion. If this is the first interaction we have with a contractor, we may be able to issue a violation if the situation dictates that. In this situation, that was a possibility, but because of the complex scenario with Wells being the controlling employer and Kreider being the subs, it was a learning process for me. So I may have misspoken. Ultimately, we decided to go with a violation because of the history.
And can you talk a little bit about immediate rectifying situations? So I'm looking at these pictures. I'm noticing, there's a piece of equipment that's blocking the cross path. That piece of equipment could be moved. I don't know if it was actually being used or if it was just parked. And, in what situations might you say, "Hey, fix it. I'll be back in an hour," versus issuing a fine?
Right, absolutely. This is a case where a phone call and quick action could have solved it. I am not sure how quickly they did, but I know it was fixed by the end of the day. That is one thing to consider, but, due to the history with Wells and Wells, I figured out that there was not a way to avoid that violation. And that.
Okay, and the utility work that was being done, that was on the north-south street, is that correct? Not in 17th Street?
There was storm utility work that was planned on being done. They did, what you're talking about is Lincoln, but it did penetrate into 17th a little bit.
Was it east?
So this street cut was for the final water tap for, as part of Hub 2's construction. They were required to upgrade the water mains on Lincoln, 19th, and Washington for not only their project, but they also provided new water main service to all of the perimeter properties. And this was the final tap into the city's new water main for this new water service. So this was the tap that allowed that new water service to go live to provide the water to all of the residences on the perimeter of Hub 2 with the new water lines that they had installed.
And the main that's being tapped is in 17th Street.
Correct. The main that was being tapped is in the middle or in the southbound lane. So yeah, in the edge of the southbound lane. Or in the south side lane, eastbound lane,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, on the eastbound lane, okay.
Yeah, south side of 17th, eastbound lane.
And that was the flagging that was mentioned earlier, the flagging for the traffic on 17th.
Yes.
So for Zach, when you witnessed this violation, were the flaggers in place? Were there people out flagging traffic?
I think at this moment, the lane closure might not have been active. I would ask James that, but I don't recall. This was just regarding the sidewalk detour that was not implemented correctly.
Okay.
But I don't recall if the flagging was active at that moment.
If there was a backhoe in the middle of the road, then we had to be flagging.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very busy street. So the flagging operation would have had to be in place for us to get any of that excavation done.
Right.
And at that point in time,
If come to the mic.
Can I just interrupt? Kyla, would you like us to send you the materials that we have in front of us?
If it's possible to send them by email, that would be great. But otherwise, I can ask some additional questions if I need more information.
Okay.
yeah, at that point in time with and Mike Runyon could speak to it with CBU, because he would have been around that. But at that point in time with the whole excavation being across the street, we would have started flagging early in the morning. As we opened up the water main, it was realized that there was only about 2 inches of clearance from the existing water main to the existing sanitary. So with CBU's guidance, we had to tap that water main at a 45-degree angle and burn a valve there, and then turn it back 45 and over the top of the sanitary. Since there was a conflict there, no other way to get through, that was unforeseen circumstances out in the middle of the road as well.
Sure. Thank you. Another clarifying question for Zach. The signage, the sidewalk closed signage versus sidewalk detour signage, was this the first time you had witnessed that? Was this the first time you had been on site and noticed this was a problem? Was it just happened to also be at a time when the backhoe was in the street?
I'm not 100% sure on that one, but ultimately the violation, this one is about the obstruction. So the signage is just secondary, and I think just a secondary conversation that James and I had.
I have a question for staff, just for clarification. The fine that was issued, was it in total $4,000? Or was it that the last fine issued was $4,000?
This fine would be $4,000, and the previous one was $2,000.
So the
Okay.
total fine assessed is an accumulation of,
So how our fines work is they're based on a 3-year schedule. There's different fines for different violations, and they start anywhere between $100 and $500 and then double each time until they reach $7,500. They're issued to the permit holder. In this case, it was Wells and Wells. So since they had previous violations for this particular line item of MOT violation, they were at the $4,000 level. So that is why this violation was issued at $4,000.
And we're considering just that $4,000 fine, not the accumulation?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to quickly add just how intensive the project was there that we did, and the coordination with CBU, tapping the main, flagging the traffic on that road, getting steel plates down, flow fill concrete. It's no easy undertaking out there. And to backfill the excavation without temporarily going across where the curb ramp is and pedestrian traffic, there's no real way to get that done. You know, with the flaggers out there, they're watching traffic, they're watching pedestrians, they're keeping everyone safe as they're out there working. And then I can't tell you exactly why they went from that direction. I mean, it would be commonplace to backfill the trench from both sides, as well the other way. So I don't see how else you do it than how our guys did it in the field.
For pedestrians, was there flagging that was happening during the time that this ramp was blocked?
No, the flaggers are for vehicular traffic, and the sidewalk detour is what would be routing the pedestrians in a mid-block crossing in this case. What would have been the correct solution during the backfill would have been to place them at the easternmost or westernmost ADA crosswalks instead of the mid-block crossing. So we could have modified the MOT according to the scope.
Can you go back, please, and let us know how long in total that pedestrian crosswalk was blocked with the backhoe?
Yeah, I cannot substantiate how long that was. It was fixed by the end of the day. James might be able to answer how quickly that was addressed.
I know I could maybe pull my phone calls and messages up, but as soon as I was notified by Zach that there was an issue, I called the pipe foreman on site and instructed him to pull everything out of the way, put the steel plates down, make it ADA compliant, get a picture of it, send it to me. That way we can at least rectify the situation as best we can and see what's wrong. That way we could correct it and not have the problem.
Thank you.
So this process of them doing the street cut took less than a day. So it would have been less than a business day where they were doing this work on this particular day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Maria or Zach, if you guys could speak to contractor has to tap the main, and it's a tight site, and they find that they're having difficulty maneuvering equipment. Is there a preferred or correct process if this company were to come to the city and say, hey, we got to get this done today, but we can't redirect traffic in the way we originally thought we could?
Yeah, that would be a scope change.
Yes, they could have called us. I think that, Kreider and Kreider did the best that they could with the situation. Hub 2's utility relocations have been difficult. They went on longer, ran into every possible problem that they could possibly run into. They originally had thought that this tap was going to take them a day, half a day, and it ended up taking them 3 to 5 days in total. Every time we've had an issue with them, they've been very responsive. In my experience, Kreider & Kreider has been very responsive in fixing whatever situations that I have pointed out to them through this process. It's a very dynamic situation. This is a very heavy populated area. They were trying to get this done for CBU before the students moved back in. They actually had more work in 17th Street that they had permitted to do that week that we ended up not allowing them to do, just because it ran over for the tap. And we haven't allowed them to go back into 17th Street yet because we haven't had a break in school. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry to ask anybody to repeat anything, but this fine for potentially this one day ended up being $4,000. The accumulating fines are what made it to $4,000, but the fine for this in particular was not a repeated offense.
Correct. So because the permit is held by Wells and Wells, not Kreider and Kreider, so Wells and Wells is the GC. They're the ones that pulled this right-of-way permit. But Kreider and Kreider is who did the work. So if Kreider and Kreider had pulled this permit and Kreider had gotten this fine, it would be... Kyle, how much would the fine be?
As long as they didn't have a previous violation.
Yeah, if they hadn't had it, and Kreider doesn't have any previous violations, it would have been the minimum fine or even potentially a warning because it would have been their first finable offense.
Okay.
But because the permit was issued to Wells and Wells, the fine is issued to Wells and Wells, not to Kreider and Kreider.
And the other fines associated with Wells and Wells with this project are not coming before us.
Not today.
Not
This is
today.
the only fine right now. And the previous fines, I believe, were all for Hub 1, which is on North Walnut, where the China buffet was. So that was a previous project. It wasn't even this project. But because it's Wells and Wells, they're the permit holder. They're the ones that get the fine. They, however, have chosen to pass this fine on to Kreider because Kreider was the one who was actually doing the work, even though Wells and Wells is the permit holder.
Question for staff and possibly for legal. I'm curious of what the scope of our possibilities are here. Is the possibility, is it binary? Is it only approve the appeal with no fines or deny the appeal with $4,000 fine, or is there any place in between?
Hi, this is Alex Pratt with City Legal. Yes, so if you look on page 4, I've given the board 3 options, but this is also subject to redrafting if the board chooses so. So the first option is uphold this fine and uphold the notice of violation. The second option is uphold the notice of violation but reduce the fine to whatever the board thinks reasonable in this case, given that Kreider has not had previous violations with the city. And then the third option is to void the notice of violation and the fine. Thanks.
And a question I have for, I think, engineering staff primarily. It's the city's preference that the general contractor be the permit holder for these projects. Is that correct?
Yes, but it is possible that other people can be applicants, and then if they are the applicant, sometimes we can apply the same concept to them.
And for the other fines that Wells and Wells received, are we anticipating that other subcontractors are coming before us in the future, or Wells and Wells?
I do believe that all of the fines that have currently been issued to Wells and Wells have gone beyond the deadline for appeal currently. So right now, we don't have, is that correct, Kyle? We don't have any open fines issued to Wells and Wells other than this one currently?
Not to my knowledge.
So yeah, this is the only one that we have open with Wells and Wells currently.
And so they've paid the previous fines?
I believe so, yes. And they did have subcontractors that did apply for certain right-of-way permits with this project, but because this is part of the main utility relocations for the project as a whole, Wells and Wells applied for that permit just because of the size and the scope of what was being done, and there were multiple contractors that worked on the utility relocations.
I don't think I have other questions. I have a certain level of frustration, though, that this permit holder had several violations. And, you know, I understand the city's intention behind the escalating fines because they're serious issues. The reason that we have these permits and the reason we have the transportation plan is so that we ensure the safety and accessibility of these spaces. So it's important. I think that the city and the board is in kind of a strange situation with this request because the appeal is coming to us not by the permit holder. The appeal is coming to us by a subcontractor who is being told that they are responsible for the fine, though they actually are not the ones who have been fined. And the reason that their fine is large is because their general contractor has violated the city requirements on multiple occasions. So I guess this is a question for legal. Is there a reason why we have an appeal from a subcontractor when it was the general contractor who was fined?
Hey, Alex Pratt with City Legal again. This probably traces back to the city code section. I was looking at, and it's actually in the proposed order, I think, just a sec. So a responsible party, any person who, whether property manager, principal agent, owner, lessee, tenant, contractor, builder, architect, engineer, either individually in concert with another, causes, maintains, suffers. So the code specifically refers to contractor. that in addition with the engineering practice of associating the responsible party with the permit holder just points to Wells and Wells in this case. It's possible to change that in the future if the code is changed to reflect a subcontractor in this wording as a responsible party. But again, that would have to be clarified with engineering whether a subcontractor would need then to apply for a permit to be considered the responsible party in this case. We're just
Well,
looking at the code and
sorry.
practice. Sorry.
Well, my question is, why has the city accepted an appeal not from the responsible party?
The actual appeal did come from Wells and Wells, the actual paperwork for the appeal. The representative for the contractor that came today is Kreider and Kreider, if that makes sense. But the actual appeal is from Jesse Graber from Wells and Wells, which should be in the documentation in there. So he actually filed for the appeal. We're just hearing on his behalf from Kreider and Kreider.
And he's not present.
He is not.
Are there other questions from the board?
No.
Is there a motion from the board?
Yeah, do you need to open it to the public or?
Not for an
No?
appeal.
Okay.
I move that I suppose we vote on this depending on how it's phrased, that we uphold the appeal of notice of violation to Wells and Wells issued on August 15th, 2025.
Was that a motion to
That was a motion to uphold the appeal.
uphold the violation or grant the appeal?
Would you like to dismiss the violation or uphold the order?
I'm sorry. What's the cleanest way for how this is worded? Uphold,
Would you like to approve the appeal? So, no fine?
okay, I will
That's the
move
motion.
that we, I don't know the cleanest way to do this.
It should be the third option on the order to uphold. Voids the NOV and assess fines regarding violation of BMC. That's the question I'm asking. Or would you like to uphold and assess the
Okay,
fine?
I move that we uphold the notice of violation and assessed fines regarding the violation of BMC 12.08, use of the right-of-way.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Abstain?
Roach?
No.
Okay, so we have an abstention, a no vote for upholding the notice of violation and the fine, and I vote yes for upholding the notice of violation and the fine. So, legal?
So we have to have a majority of votes yes in order for the motion to pass, so the motion fails.
So will we entertain another motion?
Yes, if you choose so. There
Madam
is no
President, will
decision
you
right
entertain
now.
another motion?
Yep, is there another motion?
Okay. I move we uphold the notice of violation regarding the violation and assess fines of $500.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Assess fines of, yes.
Roach?
Yes.
And Cox Deckard, no. Motion passes.
Thank you for hearing me out on this case, and I just like to come and let you know that a lot of this stuff on non-city projects, you know, like other projects we work with the city, we have a project manager with the city directly working with us on any issues that we ever have on something like that. If they see something wrong on a city street, they address it, it gets fixed immediately. At least we've always fixed it immediately, and I assume anybody else would when they're told to. On a project like this one with a general contractor, it's less working together, not necessarily with us and the general contractor, but more the city and the general contractor. It's less working together with the city and the general contractor and more just the governing body assessing. And Marie and them have been great on that job because it's been, you know, that job's been difficult. I mean, let alone all the rock excavation for everything we've done there and the amount of pedestrians that go through there and connecting to old and aging infrastructure, gas lines falling apart out there. I mean, it's been a project, and it'll be really nice for it to be done for the city. But it is a huge burden upon the contractors whenever we're out there working on things like this, and it's just tough dealing with all those things. As to a city project, when you have somebody working directly with you from the city to at least make sure everything's on the up and up and going in the right way when it comes to that. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the work that you do. All right, next up is petitions and remonstrances. If anyone is either in the room or on Zoom who would like to make a public comment about something not on the agenda, now is the opportunity to do so. And if you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand function or the chat function to let us know you'd like to make a comment.
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none. Next, we have the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the minutes from August 12th of 2025, minutes from August 26th of 2025, Resolution 2025-081, Canopy of Lights, 2025, Memorandum of Understanding for Hopewell Commons between City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation, City of Bloomington Utilities, and City of Bloomington Public Works, Outdoor Lighting Service Agreement with Duke Energy for West 2nd Street from South Walker Street to South Morton Street, Outdoor Lighting Service Agreement with Duke Energy for North Indiana Avenue from East Cottage Grove Avenue to East 13th Street, Change Order Package Number 1 with ENB Paving for the North Walnut Street Resurfacing Project, Amendment 2 to Preliminary Engineering Contract with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. for the Grimes at Walnut Signal Replacement Project, and payroll. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening?
We
No.
did make an adjustment to the consent agenda for the contract for tree trimming for the 2nd Street Modernization Project at the work session to go forward on consent.
All right, so we will add the contract for tree trimming for 2nd Street Modernization Project as well under that consent agenda. Anything else that needs to be adjusted for the consent agenda?
No.
No.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting of November 3rd, 2025.
Second?
All right, do we have any public comments on anything within the consent agenda?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard? Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have new business. First under new business is sidewalk and alley closure for Phase 3 of Poplar's redevelopment.
Good evening, Kyle Wall from Engineering. F.A. Wilhelm is requesting sidewalk and alley closure on the south side of East 7th Street between Dunn and Grant, and the east-west alley also between Dunn and Grant, just south side of the property, as part of the Poplars redevelopment project located at 400 East 7th Street. So this request is to accommodate equipment and material movement for construction activities with a planned extension of the current closure, so from November 13th of this year through June 18th of 2026.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
None for me.
None for me.
All right. Any public comments on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, I will, let's see, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the sidewalk and alley closure for Phase 3 of the Poplars redevelopment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so I will call the roll. Crone,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have bike lane closure extension for Poplars redevelopment.
Kyle Ball, engineering again. F.A. Wilhelm is requesting a bike lane closure in the same parcel that I just described. So this is on the south side of East 7th Street, adjacent to 400 East 7th. So this request is a little bit tricky. So this summer, we worked with them to get the bike lane closure set up with the expectation that we would have that reopened by November or mid-November of 2025. So now that we're hearing the extension, engineering staff does not feel that this is in the best interest of the public. The impact to the adjacent properties, the ridership of that particular corridor is down. We have gotten public complaints about those that we want to make sure that we, state that we hear and understand. So at this time, staff does not recommend approval of this request. We do have some representatives from F.A. Wilhelm in the room here, if you would like to have any questions with them.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
And I would like to hear from the petitioner, please.
James Dillon's going to give you some handouts. Same with you, Elizabeth, to help give them. Okay.
And then just state your name and
I'm Kerry Daly Manahan, Project Manager, F.A. Wilhelm.
Dylan Roush, Assistant Project Manager, Wilhelm.
Those documents right there outline our scope of work in regards to masonry across the north face of that building from right now at current point in time to its finish. With just brick and limestone, there's also caulking and some more finish work that needs to occur. Our proposal to the engineering department was to extend our use of the bike lane through the month of February. The second page of that handout really outlines what is in effect a problem with the bike lane, and that's those very north faces of the building and the equipment that has to boom up to our scaffold. A lot of that, in order to do that, it has to sit in the bike lane slightly or right up against it. We feel it's in the best interest of the public and everybody involved that we're not so close to people biking, running through that lane while we're booming up and moving materials so close to that bike lane, and then to go along with that, simply in the bike lane itself. So getting us through the month of February with that work puts us basically on the very east side of the building, and we can manage the project much safer at that point. Without that space for us and contractors involved, it's a logistical nightmare. Do you have anything to add there, Dylan, in regards to that?
Yeah, I've got some photos if you'd like to see them, and if I can send you any of this documentation via email, just ask. We're an open book on the subject.
So the request is actually through February?
That's what we had requested as an alternative. We originally had asked through the month of June. As an alternative, we feel if we're able to at least have that space through the month of February, an official turnover date of March 2nd, we could get the majority of that work that affects that bike lane complete, and we'd have a much easier way of completing that work without disrupting the public right next to it that'll be operating.
I looked at the agenda prior to this meeting. I saw some of the paperwork still says that June date, and that was our original request, but engineering department highly suggested to amend that. And basically, our request now gets us critical path, and you'll see that's on that northernmost extent of the project, so we could work within the courtyards, albeit less efficiently, but in terms of the bike lane, that spells it out.
Are we ready for questions?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Would that end of February, March 2nd date, would that not only give you the time to finish the majority of the work that might impact that bike lane, but also get it cleaned up and ready for traffic?
Yes.
Okay.
Would we expect if you do not have control or access to the bike lane after March 2nd, and you need to do still the easternmost part of the site, would we expect that you would come back with a request to close part of Dunn Street to accommodate a crane for the eastern side?
Yes. The eastern side, Dunn Street's a separate topic to this. We have an outline and a timeline for all that work on the eastern part in regards to closing down the parking along Dunn right there. Dunn would still be maintained, but
But the
that's,
north side of the building,
mhm.
could you do within the courtyard as opposed to closing Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned that a June date would have been preferable to late February. Can you speak a little bit about what compromises you might be making, or what kind of additional logistics you're having to consider to do that work before the end of February, then expanding it to June?
The main thing is along that north face, you're going to have scaffolding all set up, and it's going to be about 12 feet off the north face of the building. So that in areas along the north roadway, which is critical to getting not just masonry work, but the whole scope of the project's work done, it essentially blocks off the access to certain spots of the project if the bike lane is not in our use. With the bike lane, we're able to have the scaffold up and also do some booming up, along with having traffic still flow inside our project along that north roadway. Without the bike lane, that goes away. The preference of through June, it just allows us to operate within the site more, and we're able to lay down materials inside the site in a quantity that's much more than what we would if we didn't have the bike lane. And then it allows less traffic on Dunn Street from our laydown yard. That was the preference through June, just more operation within the construction side as possible. But as an alternative, at the very least, with the north face of that masonry work getting done by the end of February, we're able to maintain a north roadway because the masonry work's out of the way.
I would add that maintaining the bike lane in our use, it greatly helps us with deliveries, which is a hefty logistical challenge at this job site.
Yep.
Can you speak a little bit about your general timeline? Are you ahead of schedule? Are you behind schedule? How is this impacting your total project completion?
The project itself is mostly on schedule. The main Scope of work that's behind schedule is the masonry work. The limestone production delayed us and really set us in the position we're in with the masonry progress as it sits right now. Then what the masonry pushes is the site concrete around the building, especially the north face. Those two items are what's being pushed and theoretically beyond schedule finish at this point is the masonry and the site concrete work as it stands right now. Most all other scopes of work are doing pretty well.
Are there other questions from the board?
None for me, thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve the bike lane closure extension for the Poplars redevelopment.
Second.
And do we need to add dates to that?
Sure. I move that we approve the bike lane closure extension for the Poplars redevelopment through the month of February 2026.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have alley closure at 205 East Kirkwood, closure for northern alley for loading and unloading of trucks by Service Master.
Hello, Zach Bell, Engineering Field Specialist. Service Master is requesting approval to close the alley to the north of 205 East Kirkwood Avenue for 4 weeks as part of restoration work for First Christian Church. This request is to accommodate loading and hauling of materials. The traffic control would be in place from November 12th through December 10th. There is a possibility of them starting earlier if masonry work on the east side is completed ahead of schedule and the alley is reopened. Additionally, 6 parking spaces will be also reserved through that time period if approved. Sheena Nicholson from Service Master has supplied maintenance of traffic plans.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I have none.
None for me.
All right, any public comments on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the alley closure at 205 East Kirkwood, closure for northern alley for loading and unloading of trucks by Service Master.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have road and sidewalk closure for work related to Banneker Center stair repair by LRT Restoration Technologies.
Zach Bell again, Engineering Field Specialist. LRT Restoration Technologies is requesting sidewalk and road closures 1 block west of 7th Street and the sidewalk on the north side of 7th at 930 West 7th Street as part of a project at the Banneker Community Center. This request is to accommodate machinery for the placement of the limestone steps. The traffic control would be in place from November 4th through November 25th. Additionally, several parking spaces will also be reserved through that time period if approved. Eric Spengler from LRT has supplied maintenance of traffic plans for all work.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Zach, at the work session, we talked about the homes on the south side of the streets. So I took a look at them on Google Earth, and none of them do have driveways. one has access from the north-south street to the west, and the other has access from an alley, a north-south alley. But in the Google Earth picture, it does show their trash cans out on the street. So I would urge you to work with them on where they should be placing their trash cans, their trash bins during the construction period.
Absolutely.
And then also another request in the future for projects with a maintenance of traffic plan, we want to see that maintenance of traffic plan.
Okay.
We want to see where those detours are.
Okay.
For the benefit of the public, the assumption is that the nearest cross streets would include some detour signs, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the sidewalk detours would be placed at the curb ramps that would facilitate easy passing and have the
Right.
indicator strips and stuff.
Right, and vehicle traffic too, right?
Yes, we can place some detour signs that would direct people around the closure.
Great. Yeah, if we could actually see that on a map next time, that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
None.
All right, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve the road and sidewalk closure for work related to Banneker Center stair repair by LRT Restoration Technologies.
Second?
All right, do we have any public comments on this item?
Hi.
Yes, I'm Eric Spangler with LRT, and I might have miscommunicated, but it's looking like it's going to be more December 4th through December instead of November. So I just want to make that clarification because the material's not going to be available until the 24th of November.
So the dates changed to December 4th to December 25th?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Thank you for confirming that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second with a date adjustment. I will call the roll. Corone,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
was that an aye?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have sidewalk closure for commercial driveway installation at 2655 South Adams Street by United Rental.
Zach Bell again. United Rental is requesting approval to close the sidewalk on the east side of Adams Street at 2655 South Adams for 1 week as part of driveway installation at Cornerstone Christian Fellowship. The traffic control would be in place for 1 week between the dates of November 4th and November 25th, 2025. Bynum Faneuil, the applicant, has supplied sidewalk detour maintenance of traffic plan.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I have none.
The maintenance of pedestrian traffic, is it on the west side of Adams then?
The closure will be on the east side where they're installing a driveway, and similar to LRT's closure, we will send them at appropriate crosswalks to the west side.
Okay.
And there's a good sidewalk that, very compliant. It will be a simple detour.
I know the street there between those two ponds, there's not a stop condition, so you might consider the crossing to happen at the roundabout.
Right.
And again, please include those plans in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any public comments on this item?
None on Zoom.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the sidewalk closure for commercial driveway installation at 2655 South Adams Street by United Rental.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Corone,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have change order package 1 with Weddle Brothers for CMC Logistics Center.
Good evening, Max Litwin,
Deputy Chief with Fire. This change order is to cover items that have come up that are needed for completion of the project. Of those items, about 3% is change in scope, 10.6% is unforeseen work for a total of 13.6%. A majority of these are related to soil on site that's unusable that resulted in a need for stabilization, trucking out the unusable soil and trucking in usable soil. That combined with some requests to adhere to UDO requirements for the entire Winston Thomas parcel is what constitutes most of this cost you see.
Questions from the board on this item?
Just a couple. So the unsuitable soil, it just wasn't, was there voids? Was there, trash and things like that in there? Or?
It's mostly, it's dumping from over the
Dumping,
years.
yeah.
I think that the extent of that wasn't known. It went deep and there was really nothing we could use. So costs were, we tried to mitigate whatever costs we could through stabilization, but a lot of it just had to be trucked out and replaced.
Okay. And the UDO requirements, briefly, can you describe that a little bit more?
What do those consist of? So part of that, there's a couple parts to this, but part of it is that this has triggered UDO requirements for the entire Winston Thomas site. So items that maybe would normally be small become large when it's the entire parcel. So that's a part of it. Honestly, that's most of it.
Okay.
So I think.
Are we talking about like sidewalk work on?
Specific items, yes, sorry. Sidewalks, islands and parking areas,
Okay.
trees, landscaping, things of those nature.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
And I just want to confirm something we discussed at the work session, which is it appears there's a 20% cutoff to change orders, but the 10.6% of unforeseen work, we're told by staff, does not eat into part of that 20%. So we're only at 3% essentially due to the change in scope, not including the unforeseen work.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, figured it's pertinent to divide those numbers out there.
It is, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board?
None for me.
None for me.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve change order package 1 with Weddle Brothers for CMC Logistics Center.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have contract with Precision Concrete for trip hazard elimination in various locations.
Miranda Beaver of Public Works for Joe Van Devender of the Street Department. This is a service agreement with Precision Concrete that we've used through our cooperative purchasing buy board contract. This is proposing a saw cut solution and not grinding for the city of Bloomington to remove sidewalk trip hazards on sidewalks located in various locations. Trip hazards will be eliminated, leaving a maximum running slope ramp of 1 to 8 as permitted to meet ADA requirements. Precision Concrete Services will correct 1,542 trip hazards, and this is a continuous project to repair all the trip hazards within the city. And this service agreement is not to exceed the amount of $95,000.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Just a couple. Saw cut solution versus grinding. So we're talking about instead of cutting down lips and things like that, we're taking out a section of sidewalk and replacing it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And would all the work that's Precision Concrete be doing is saw cutting, or is it just to allow for some saw cutting here, some grinding there?
For these trip hazards, I believe that it is a saw cut solution only. Some of the other contracts that you've seen come through from Precision, for those, we're grinding.
Okay.
And you may see some come back through for grinding. It just depends on what area and what type of sidewalk is currently there.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
None for me.
Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the contract with Precision Concrete for trip hazard elimination in various locations.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have staff reports and other business.
Miranda Beaver for Public Works. I would just like, if you could state for the record that I can use your stamp for signature for this as you are via Zoom.
Yes, I will state for the record that you can use my signature as my signature stamp as my signature on the documents for this meeting.
Thank you.
All right, next up is approval of claims. Do we have any questions on the claims?
None.
No.
Any public comments on claims?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve claims tonight in the amount of $724,846.57.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. And seeing as there is nothing else on our agenda this evening, I will call for adjournment.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Kyla.
Thanks, Kyla.
Thank you.